In this video, we will discuss aging horses using their teeth.
Now here's a little guy. If you take a look at this, you can see teeth under the gums right here. His central incisor is sitting there under the gums. Here's an intermediate incisor under the gums over here. So this little guy is all gum. He has no teeth coming out yet. So these deciduous incisors would erupt at 6 days, 6 weeks, and 6 months. So this little guy didn't even make it to 6 days old. So less than 6 days old. Okay, here we have a mouth that has only 4 lower incisors in it. Now you could have an adult animal that for some reason was missing corner incisors, upper and lower. Likelihood of that being very slim. But keep in mind, if you see an animal with just 4 lower incisors here, you're probably going to be looking at an animal that the mouth will be attached to the rest of the animal, and you're going to see it's a small horse. And you'll know immediately these will be all deciduous because you don't have a full complement of lower incisors. Looking closely here, you can see no central groove up this thing. If I can get the light sitting kind of sideways, you can see striations on them. You can see some of the upper there, little thin striations down here. As tall as they are wide, so those are deciduous teeth. So these came in at 6 days of age. These here at 6 weeks of age. Didn't make it to 6 months of age. So this guy is between 6 weeks of age and 6 months of age. Probably closer to 6 months of age because I can see these starting to come in there, and I can see one just underneath the gum over here. So probably about 5 months old. Okay, let's see what this mouth has to tell us. I've got 6 lower incisors right here. First thing I want to do is I want to look at the front of these teeth here, determine whether they are permanent or deciduous. These are about as tall as they are wide. I don't see one central groove in them. Striations are, again, easier to see if you're actually holding this in your hand. So these all look to be deciduous. And if I look down on top of these things right here, you can see these are well in. There's still a little bit of gum sitting right here in that infundibulum. So these are just rupturing out right now. So these deciduous teeth, they erupt at 6 days, 6 weeks, and 6 months of age. So this guy is right at 6 months old. Okay, if we look at this one here, I've got a tooth right here that's lower than the one beside it. This one is about as tall as it is wide. Same this one over here. I don't see any central grooves, so those look deciduous to me. This, I can see a central groove starting to come in down here. If I look at the occlusal surface, I see a cup on this one. I see no cup here and no cup there. So these have been in the mouth longer than this one here. So this is a newly erupting permanent tooth. These are 2 deciduous teeth that have the cups worn off of them. So this one is not even up to the level of the deciduous. So this tooth should erupt at 2.5 years. So this horse has the mouth of a 2.5-year-old. Their central incisor permanents are just now coming in. Two-and-a-half-year-old mouth. Okay, eyeballing this one here. If I look at my central incisors, I see a tooth. You're going to say it's about as tall as it is wide, and I couldn't argue that with you, but I see one streak up the middle right here. Look at this over here. I don't see a nice central groove on either of these. Striations, they show up better if you actually holding these in your hand in person, but about as tall as they are wide, both these teeth here. So this looks like a permanent tooth to me. Deciduous intermediates, deciduous corners. Same thing over here, other side. If we flip this up, I see a cup here. The very end of a cup right there. No cup over there, none here, no cup over there. So these teeth are newer than these. Makes sense. This is a permanent incisor. These are deciduous over here. These come in at 2.5 years of age. So they're coming in, these 2.5 years of age, they should be in wear at 3, and I'm seeing wear up here on the top of these things, so he should be about 3 years old. These just haven't come all the way out at this point in time. These will end up being a little bit taller than this, but these are permanent teeth here. So in at 2.5, in wear at 3. These would come in at 3.5. He's not 3.5 yet, so he's between 3 years and 3.5 years old. Got the mouth of a 3 to 3.5 year old. Now this horse mouth here, looking at the front of these teeth, I see an adult tooth there with a large groove up the middle. Same with the one over here next to it. Looking to the side of that, of the intermediate, I see a tooth that is a lot wider than this one right here. So that's about as wide as this one is over here. It's lower down than both of these, so this tooth is erupting right here. But there's already a corner over here. No major groove on this thing. It's about as tall as it is wide, so this is a deciduous tooth here. This is a permanent tooth, and this is an erupting permanent tooth. And we see the same thing on this side over here. Look at the top of this thing. We've got cups here on the centrals and the intermediates. You can still see some of the gum tissue down there in that infundibulum. Sorry, right here, it's not all the way out yet. And a flat surface, no cup on those corners. That's a deciduous. It's been there a while. So these teeth are up to 2.5 years old. This tooth erupts at 3.5. So this horse has the mouth of a 3.5-year-old animal. Right on the money. Those are just now erupting. This is quite strange. I'm sitting in my living room talking to people that aren't there. I thought this wasn't supposed to happen until I was in my 90s. This is so much more fun when there's students actually in the room with you. Okay, what we've got here, we've got 6 lower incisors on this animal. I've got a nice central groove right here in these teeth, getting taller than they are wide. Looks like permanent, looks like permanent. And I've got this little short guy over here with no central groove. Look down on the top of this. There's no cup there. There's cups on these two here. So these are my permanent teeth. There's my deciduous there. Permanent, deciduous over there. These are up to 2.5 in wear at 3, and you can see the wear in those guys where the yellow dentin showing through. Focus. It's focusing on the top teeth. There we go. This comes in at 3.5 in wear at 4, and it's in wear at 4 there. This would come in at 4.5. It's not there, so this horse is between 4 and 4.5 years old. Okay, taking a look at this horse. I see permanent tooth here, permanent tooth there, permanent tooth here. It's about as tall as it is wide. I can tell by the size of it. It's an adult tooth that's about the size of these. Those deciduous will be really small when you compare them to these adult incisors over here. If I look up on there, I've got an infundibulum in that thing, a cup, so this is not a deciduous tooth. Canine back over here. So this tooth erupts at 2.5. This one comes in at 3.5. This one comes in at 4.5. In wear at 3, 4, and 5. Those are all in wear. I can see dentin coming through here. Cup's gone at 6. Cup's gone at 7. Cup's gone at 8. I see a cup here. I see a cup here. This one's getting ready to disappear. So cup's gone at 6. Not quite 7. So this horse is has a mouth of a 6 to 7 year old. So pretty close to 7 years old. That's getting ready to disappear right there pretty soon. So the late 6s. Okay, what have we here? Looking at the labial surface of these teeth, I see teeth that are taller than they are wide. I see one large groove right up the middle of them. So these are all permanent teeth. So all permanent teeth. These would come in at 2.5 years old, 3.5 years old, 4.5 years old. So he's at least 4.5. In wear, and these are actually all leveled off, so they're been in wear for some time. In wear at 3, 4, and 5. Cups will be gone here at 6 years of age. I see no cup. 7 years of age, I see no cup. This cup would be gone at 8 years of age, and there's ever so slightly a cup still present. So this horse is approaching 8 years of age, not quite there. So between 7 and 8 years old, closer to 8. These are enamel points right there, the very bottom of the infundibulum. Those are enamel points. There's no depth down in there. Dental stars, it's the dark areas out in front of those. They have not yet approached the center of that tooth. The teeth have not worn down far enough for that to happen at this point in time. I've got 6 lower incisors. They all look taller than they are wide. I can see the central groove in them here. It's not stained like some of those others were, but there's a central groove sitting here. There's one right there. This one doesn't have much of one over here. It's kind of up the side there. The enamel's been chipped away by past student use, which is okay. We got some pretty big canines we can see in this one. This mouth is open pretty wide. So if you see canines like this, right away you should be thinking, okay, I'm not dealing with deciduous teeth at this point in time. Take a look at these teeth. They're all in wear. If you look at the top of them here, now here's where some people may get confused. I see these little dark areas here, but there's no white, like this white enamel around it. There's none of that around those. So these are actually the dental stars. They've started to stain darker. So those are dental stars. Those are not infundibulum. So this tooth came in at 2.5, in wear at 3, in at 3.5, in wear at 4, in at 4.5, in wear at 5. Cup's gone at 6, 7, and 8 years old. So this horse is over 8 years old. That's all you'd have to say is he's over 8. And if you look up here, do you see this right there? There is a hook. They come in at 7 or 11 years. We've already said he's at least 8. There's no corner incisor, so here is an 11-year hook right there. So there's an 11-year hook. This horse ought to be about 11 years old. So he's got the mouth of an 11-year-old. This is just an old horse. Tall teeth. Just wanted to show you one. These dental stars here are not dark stained like the other one I was showing you. They're a lighter color, but that white right there is not as white as this enamel back over here. Okay, so that's a dental star. These just aren't stained dark brown like that previous mouth I showed you. There's a little bit of brown in this one over here. But all enamel's gone off the surface of those teeth there.